Hello everybody and welcome to another Marvel Crisis Protocol Battle Report. Thank you very much for the support on the other battle reports and the painting videos as well. It's greatly appreciated. And do remember to subscribe if you want to see more in the future along with the other miniature games that we cover here. So we're still using the core set with a little extra Hulk thrown in, but the heroes got to play with Hulk last time. So the theme we're kind of running with here is that Hydra gets to play with the Hulk this time, much to the Avengers' chagrin. So got the team set up, got their cards set up. We'll go over the missions in a second, but let's quickly go over the teams. So still with the Cabal affiliation, thanks to 3 of them being from the Cabal and them adding up to at least 50% of the 17 threat being played today, we have the Cabal led by Red Skull, almost said Red Hood again. We have Baron Zemo, we have Crossbones, and then we have the Hulk himself, tricked or otherwise convinced to help the Cabal today. Remember, in Crisis Protocol you can combine any heroes and villains you want, but I like having a story behind it just so you can kind of thematically make sense of it. Anyway, and the 4 Team Tactics cards that we use here until there's more available: Cosmic Invigoration, Inspiring Monologue, Trip Up, and Brace for Impact. And the heroes, as you would expect, are all the good guys from the core box, so Captain America, Captain Marvel, Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Black Widow. 5 playing 4, like it was last time, except with the team that has less models being swapped. And the Team Tactics cards are Patch Up, 1-2 Punch, Avengers Assemble, and Second Wind. Now, you already have seen some of the objectives on the map, but let's quickly go over which 2 missions have been selected. So here are the 2 objectives we're playing today, both 17 threat. The Secure is Infinity Formula goes missing, and the Extraction is Skrulls infiltrate the world leadership. So there's 4 serum canisters. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Players score 1 victory point for each serum canister they are securing, so they have the most healthy or most wounded around it. Within range 2 or 1 during the cleanup phase, so at the end of a turn. During the power phase, so that's when the turn rolls over, each character contesting a serum canister gains 1 power. So that's whether you've won the secure for the victory point or not. As long as you're contesting, you get a power. And for the Skrulls, there's 3 civilian decoys. 1, 2, and 3, which should actually be down a little bit. I got knocked at some point. Basically in a line down the middle of the board. Players score 2 victory points if a character they control is holding the Skrull agent. So you have to work out who the Skrull agent is. So you interact with a decoy, you roll 2 dice. If either one of them is a crit, then that's the Skrull agent and they pick them up. All other decoy tokens disappear. The one that is the Skrull flips over because it's got a Skrull on the other side. And you can also interact with the Skrull agent once you know who it is to pick them up. The speed of the character holding the Skrull agent becomes small. So, mobility goes down. Essentially, they just got to try and dodge once they have the Skrull agent to stop the other team getting them. So a few administrative things before we get started. We're using the opposite edges, so this edge here and here, just to try something a little bit different, as well as having in general a less vertical battlefield. Word has it some other franchise came in and wrecked it, don't know what that's talking about. So the level in general that we're playing on here is just... it's mostly just cars. The buildings aren't going to be relevant because they haven't got objectives on them, which I think is more what they're aiming for with Crisis Protocol. It might make it less dramatic, but we're testing it just to see. So we've got the hero deployment up here, and here is the other half. Then Red Skull and Baron Zemo are over there in the corner, and the Hulk and Crossbones are over there. So something we had got wrong in the first 2 battle reports that we need to go over now is it's not just alternating turns. You work out who's going first, and then from then on, the first activation of following turns is whoever didn't get last activation in the turn that just happened. So if the Cabal go last activation this turn, the heroes go first, vice versa, etc. Also, a day like any other, Captain America's Avengers affiliated rule, it only affects superpowers, not attacks. Now thankfully, I think every single time it's been used, it was in conjunction of combination superpower and attack, so although the power reduction came off the wrong thing, the overall cost still balanced out. But that was incorrect. It can only be used on superpowers, but it can also be used in the enemy turn. So thank you for pointing that out as well, which means that for like Vibranium Shield or Black Widow's counterattack, in the enemy's turn, that you can reduce those because those are powers, superpowers rather. So you can actually do them for 1 cheaper in enemy turns, which is neat. So I think that covers everything. We've already rolled. The Cabal will be getting first activation in battle round 1, but again, it depends on who gets last activation and who goes next the turn after that. So naturally, to get the game started, everybody generated 1 power in the power phase except the Hulk, who gets an additional 2 for a total of 3. The Red Skull was the first one to activate for the Cabal though. He moved up medium to be next to that Infinity Serum it's called. I keep on wanting to call it the Super Soldier Serum, but Infinity Serum. He then also tapped the power of the cube to give himself 3 additional power, and he rolls 5 dice, and for every skull he takes damage, he didn't roll a single skull. So that is it. Over to the Avengers for their first activation. Iron Man activated first, and he moved up medium to roughly there, then he moved medium again. Now remember, although he can't fit through that gap, like his base will not fit, he has fly, so he ignores the terrain basically and just goes like as a crow flies. So then he moved less than his second medium movement to where you can see him right in there, so he's still securing this, and he's on his way to the potential Skrull agent there. Right now it's just an innocent civilian minding their own business while supervillains and superheroes fight each other. Over to the Cabal. Baron Zemo activated, and as you are probably all aware by now, he is super quick. He's the fastest one on the Cabal affiliated people. So he moved long twice to get exactly where you see him, and then he spent 1 power to interact with the civilian there to test if it was the Skrull agent. The test failed. That doesn't necessarily mean that's not the Skrull agent. He can try again next turn if he wishes. But he did use his 1 power to do the test. It's roll 2 dice, and if one of them is a crit, that's the Skrull agent. But nope, not that one. So back over to the Avengers. Captain Marvel activated next, and first of all she flew up medium, and then she fired a range 4 energy blast at Baron Zemo. You can see she did manage to do 1 damage. She gained 1 energy just from using the power. He gains 1 power from taking 1 damage. And oh, we forgot to put down activation tokens, so they're there now just to keep things as they should be. One thing, while we're just making sure early on that everything is being done correctly, her energy blast has a rule that says you can reroll any attack dice. However, the rulebook says under no circumstances can you reroll critical failures, the skulls. Which one takes priority in this situation? Now we've been running it that the rulebook takes priority, but in most games, things specifically on a character usually overwrite core rulebook rules. But it says under no circumstances can you reroll a skull, so that's the way we've been playing it, even though her energy blast says you can reroll any attack dice that you want. So just double checking what the ruling is on that, but she did 1 damage, she did fine. Back over to the Cabal. 2 activations to cover just because they were mostly moving, although 1 is important. Crossbones just moved up as best he could behind the cover here of the crane, and then Black Widow activated. She moves long, so she's as fast as Baron Zemo. She moved here, then she opted to abandon the serum's range and check this civilian, and it has become the Skrull agent. So she's now holding that like she did, like for instance how the spider infected were treated, how the cube fragments were treated. So that is now on her card. She is reduced to movement small, and she's now holding the hot potato. Everybody now wants this, so the Cabal are going to have to hunt her down. She can't get away as easily. Everyone else has got to defend her, and that'll be 2 victory points to the Avengers if she's still holding it by the end of the turn. So after a quick double check that you do have to be within range 1 of an objective to be contesting or securing, which means Iron Man is not claiming the 1 over by him. The Hulk moved up small. That did not put him close enough to the serum. He did want to chuck a car, but he can only throw things medium, so he wouldn't have been able to hit anybody besides his own team. So he spent 3 power on a Gamma Leap, which is a range 2 leap, right over there, bearing down on Black Widow over there, but also more importantly being within range 1 of that serum, so he is securing it. So now it's over to Spider-Man to end battle round 1. So Spider-Man shot upwards, he moves long as well, so he is securing that Infinity Serum. He did want to impact Web Hulk, but it's range 4 and he's like range 5, so he didn't do anything with the second action, he just wants to sit still. And that does take us to the cleanup phase of Battle Round 1. So at the end of Battle Round 1, Hulk is securing one of the serums for the Cabal. Red Skull is securing the one over there. Iron Man is not securing the one over there, he is out of range 1. Spider-Man is securing the one down there though, so that's 2 victory points to the Cabal and 1 to the Avengers. However, Black Widow is currently holding the secret Skrull agent that she's trying to keep safe, / also maybe arrest, I'm not entirely sure. So she gets 2 victory points for that, meaning it's 3 plays 2 in the Avengers' favour. Now the Avengers went last that turn, so as we go into Battle Round 2, the Cabal get first activation again. And as we enter the power phase, everyone contesting a serum, in other words everyone within range 1 of one of them, generates an extra power. So Spider-Man, Hulk and Red Skull all get 1 extra power in the power phase. Apologies for the out of sequence filming here. Totally forgot about Captain America hiding, concealing behind the building here. He didn't get an activation. It doesn't change who gets first turn because after Spider-Man he was still left to go. The Cabal have less miniatures and went first, so that makes sense. So he actually could move to medium to get over there to secure that, so he's generating an extra power in this phase, and that's one extra victory point to the Avengers as well. Apologies for that. Now on with Battle Round 2 as normal. So apologies again for forgetting Captain America at the end of Battle Round 1. We were like, oh yeah, that's 4 people each side, that makes sense. Hang on a second. Anyway, to get Battle Round 2 started, Hulk activated, he moved forward small, then he spent 4 power on Hulk Smash, didn't get any wild, so he didn't get the stagger or throw effects of it, but it's still damaging. He did 3 damage to Black Widow. She has 4 HP on her healthy side, so she came very close to dropping the Skrull Agent. She spent 2, although it was actually 1 thanks to a day like any other, to reduce the cost to 1 to do counterattack, but she didn't roll any wilds, or whatever it is you're supposed to roll on counterattack, is it? Crits and wilds on 3 dice to counterattack, but didn't get any, so Hulk was unharmed. She's hurting, she generated some power obviously, but she is in a bad way, and only Spider-Man is there to help protect her, as we go on to the first Avengers activation. Black Widow activated first for the Avengers. She spent 2 power on Mixed Technique, which if she'd got a wild on the attack roll, she would have got to move small for free. She could also stagger the Hulk if she did damage, but she did neither. It was an utter waste. It was 3 blanks and a shield on the attack roll. So then she had no other choice but just to move small because she's carrying the Skrull Agent. She moved next to the serum there, but that's all she can do. That's not a good turn for her. And we are back. Oh, been forgetting activation counters again. Back to the Cabal. Wannabe Flash Baron Zemo moved long down here to cause some problems. He then did a Steel Rush, which has a medium movement whether it does damage or not. It's range 3 though, so he used it from there and she was within range 3. Characters do not obscure. So he moved medium to where he can be, or where you see him right now, to contest, or partially contest, they still have majority. But he failed to do damage with the attack. However, he got a wild, so he did bleed Black Widow. So at the end of each of her activations, unless she heals it, she takes 1 damage. She's already had her activation this turn, so she's technically safe, but that's a problem to be dealt with next time for sure. So now, back over to the Avengers. Captain Marvel activated, but first of all, Avengers Assemble got played when her activation began. So any number of allied Avengers characters may spend 1 power to play this. Characters that spent 1 power can advance small. So Black Widow moved small to where you can kind of see her, just shifted, she's still within 1 of this though. Captain Marvel moved small before then doing a medium move, and then we'll go back to her turn in a second. Iron Man also spent a power to move small as well to where you can see him. So then to end the turn, she fired an energy blast at Baron Zemo. She generated 1 power after the attack was resolved, regardless of if it does damage or not, which is good because it did no damage. He rolled very well for his defense roll. So that is it, that's all she could do. So now it's over to either Crossbones or Red Skull. Red Skull activated and moved up just a little bit, and then spent 4 power on Unleash the Cube and smacked Iron Man with it. It did 2 damage. Oh, forgot about Invincible Iron Man, so actually the 2 would have become 1. So in total he's taking 2 damage, because when the attack is resolved, anyone successfully hit by it gets chucked small. So he got thrown into the truck here for 1 damage, which gets reduced to 1, because you can't go to 0 with Invincible Iron Man. So actually that's only 2 damage done to him. Knocked him away a little bit further though, and did a little bit of damage. And thanks to the Cabal affiliation, generated 1 power as well. Spider-Man activated next, and he had a very, very effective turn for once. So he stood there. First of all, he used superpower Webapult, which normally costs 3, but thanks to a day like any other costs 2, where someone within 3 that's size 2 or less, scenery or a person, he can chuck small. So he picked up Baron Zemo, spun him around like in that Marvel game on PS4, and then threw him at the Hulk. So that did 1 damage to him on impact, and then we covered this last time, but Hulk has to do a dodge roll, which is equal to his physical defense for every crit, and wild it's -1 to the damage that would be done, and the damage that would be done is the size of the thing being chucked at him, +1. His defense is 2, so he did not get anything, so it did the full 3 damage to him. So Hulk has taken 3 damage. Now, after being thrown, and he had 1 damage on him, Spider-Man then shot Impact Webbing, and that got through and did 2 more damage. So, oh no, that was a very effective turn for him. Technically he has an action left because Webapult was a superpower, not an action, and it doesn't say action, I think. Let me just double check. Nope, doesn't say action. So he technically could have moved, but he wants to be claiming the serum, so he's just going to sit there. Worth pointing out as well, the Hulk gets extra attack dice for every 3 damage, so he's getting angrier. That's thanks to his "you wouldn't like me when I'm angry" passive. So, over to, just Crossbones, I think, for the Cabal. So Crossbones activated, and he ended up where you can see him. If no one's attacking him, he just moves small, so he was there, move small, and that's it. Thanks to like what's going on down here, it's easy to see why you definitely should use activation tokens just to keep everything clear of who's gone and who hasn't. So that's everyone in the Cabal gone, so that means they'll be getting first turn in Battle Round 3 as well. But there's still Steve Rogers and Tony Stark over there to go. Unfortunately, Captain America's going to have to spend another match where he doesn't do much because he's claiming that objective by himself, so I don't see any reason for him to move. So he'll basically just take a turn resting, I guess. So it's just down to Iron Man and if he can hurt Red Skull, so we'll be back after that's been resolved. So for the final 2 activations, Captain America moved ever so slightly to the left. He's still within range 1 of the serum there. It's just so he's positioned as efficiently as possible. Now for Iron Man, he couldn't attack Red Skull and contest the serum with 2 actions. So he moved medium, then using fly, moved medium again to be right next to the serum. So that one, they'll both generate power for it when the power phase rolls around, but no one is securing it, so there'll be no victory points there. But we'll cover that in a second once we go over the cleanup phase. So at the end of Battle Round 2, this serum down here is being held by the Avengers, so that's 1 victory point. Captain America is holding this serum for 1 victory point. This one is contested for nothing, and Black Widow is still holding on to the Skrull Agent, although barely because she's bleeding and has 1 HP. That's 2 victory points, so the Avengers have pulled way ahead. The Cabal obviously going heavy on just going after Black Widow. It's almost certain they're going to get her next turn as well, and even if they don't, she is bleeding. So we'll see, but they did ignore that serum down there. As far as everything goes now, once we roll over to Battle Round 3, remember everybody within range 1 of each serum generates an extra power, even if it's contesting, not securing. So we'll cover that, and the first activation for the Cabal again once we jump into turn 3. So as Battle Round 3 gets started, just double check the rules to see how exactly it's worded about this, deciding who goes first in each round. And it does say if the person with the priority token gets last activation, they pass it over. So in other words, if they don't get last activation, they don't pass it over. Presumably that is just, it's to keep it simple in that the team with less miniatures is going to get first turn. More or less, that's how it's going to work out. It seems to be what they're going for. Whether I kind of like the alternating that we accidentally did, but either way, Hulk, I visibly shrugged even though you can't see me. Hulk activated. Where he was standing, he spent 3 power to Gamma Leap, which is a superpower, not an action. Then he used, what is it called, Strongest One There Is, to pick up someone and throw them. He picked up Spider-Man and threw them into Black Widow. 1 damage to Spider-Man from that, 2 damage to Black Widow. She is dazed. She only generated 1 power because she only had 1 HP left, but just showing the damage as it was. She has dropped the Skrull Agent. She can't be touched for the rest of the turn, and she's flipping over her card when the turn does roll over. Then he did a basic attack with Strike and managed to push Spider-Man a little bit, but a push does not cause collisions. That did the 1 extra damage to him. Just occurred to me though, Gamma Leap is not an action, Strongest One There Is not an action, so he has only done 1 action. He can technically do another. He's not close enough to grab the Skrull, so he could technically just move his small and he has 1 power, right? Yeah, he could move small and pick up the Skrull. Double checking that's right. Is that because he did a lot of things in his turn? A superpower only counts as an action if it says an action. Yeah, neither of them say it's an action. So he leapt, he threw with a power, 2 superpowers. He did a basic attack. That's 1 action. Move, pick up. Yeah, he can do it. Okay, well he's going to pick up the Skrull Agent. That is the worst possible scenario for the Avengers because Hulk has to die to be removed. So that Skrull Agent is not slipping through his fingers easily. That makes things interesting. So we're sticking with this brawl down here. Captain Marvel activated. She used Binary Form, which normally needs 5 power, but thanks to a day like any other comes down to 4. That's basically her going Super Saiyan, that glowy form she has. So what it means is until her next activation, she gets +2 attack dice and +2 defense dice for anything. So if someone attacks her, she gets 2 extra defense dice. If she doesn't attack, which she did 2 energy blasts on Hulk. She was rolling 6 dice instead of 4. That said, The Hulk did well on one of his defense rolls, so all said and done, the 2 attacks in total did 3 damage. So that puts Hulk to 6 damage in total on him. He has 20 HP, and for every 3 damage, he gets 1 extra attack dice in any attack he does. So it's a risk, but he's got the agent, so you know. Anyway, so that's that done. She generated 1 power for each of those attacks because Energy Blast generates 1 power, whether it does damage or not. Over to the Cabal again. You better believe we're sticking down here, and that was a very interesting turn for Crossbones. I've got to talk it through because there's a lot of movement outside of actions for his attacks. So Crossbones was over here. He spent 2 power to do Overpower. That's range 3, so he could reach Spider-Man even though he was reasonably far away, because range 3 is this, so it's fairly long. So he did that, and then after the attack is resolved, he gets to move within 1 inch of wherever the target ends up, but that's once it's resolved. So before that, if he has a wild in the attack, which he did, he can do throw, and that's before the damage is resolved. He can throw the character small. So he moved Spider-Man from roughly there to there. The attack carried on. He did 3 damage, which was enough to knock Spider-Man out, so Spider-Man isn't getting an activation. But then, attack's over, that's when the move within 1 activates. So he ended up like roughly there. He then spent his second action, because he hadn't used the second action, to move small next to the serum there. Hopefully that's clear. That was also very damaging, despite Spider-Man having his Spidey Sense superpower passive that lets him reroll defense dice, or up to 2 defense dice that he doesn't like. One superpower we have been forgetting is that allies of Baron Zemo within 2 get his Strategic Genius effect, which is they can reroll a dice on an attack or a defend roll, I believe. What's the wording of it? 1 die in their attack or defense, yeah. That's been getting forgotten about, but didn't matter there. Spider-Man is down and out for the round. He's on his wounded side now. Back over to the Avengers, who just have Cap and Iron Man. So Iron Man activated, and he had a pretty awesome turn. First of all, he used his superpower, Friday AI, to add 2 attack dice to his next attack only. Only applies to the next one, but the cost got reduced by 1, thanks to a day like any other. He smacked Red Skull for 3 damage with homing missiles after that. And then to finish his turn, he didn't move. He fired just a repulsor blast, which got wilds in the attack, so that pushed him back. Pushes don't cause collisions, but he did manage to do 2 more damage. So Red Skull took 5 damage there. Now, he has 6 HP, so he is not knocked out and he hasn't activated yet. So he's still going to be able to get back in range of that serum. That was almost a perfect turn, but he lived with 1 HP. Red Skull spent 4 power to unleash the cube again on Iron Man. He did 2 damage, reduced to 1, thanks to Invincible Iron Man, and then just had to use his second action as a movement to get to contesting the serum again. So Iron Man's got 3 damage on him now, I think, yeah, so he's got 2 HP left on his healthy side. So now it's just Captain America for the Avengers, because everyone else is knocked out. He's just going to sit there again, most likely, to generate a victory point. And then it's just Baron Zemo for the Cabal, so we'll be back with that done. So Captain America did indeed just sit still to claim the serum, so that meant that Baron Zemo went last. So that does actually mean the Avengers get first activation next turn, thanks to so many of them being knocked out, so that is interesting. He still rushed against Captain Marvel, got the bleed effect through on her, but thanks to her binary form giving her tons of defense dice, only 1 damage got through. He still gets a move medium though after it, so he's moved next to the serum there. And that is it. So she's got the bleed effect, and as we move into the next turn, Spider-Man flips her card, Black Widow flips her card, and then that's it. But we'll cover the victory points in the cleanup phase. So that was an interesting turn and saw things shift. This serum down here still not claimed. That serum up there still contested. Captain America claims that one. Down here, however, the Cabal have the most healthy characters, 1, 2, 3, versus healthy characters 1, playing this one, so they got a victory point here, and Hulk now holds the Skrull Agent for 2. So that is a swing in the Cabal's favour for victory points gained within the turn, 3 playing 1. However, overall they are still quite far behind, with it being 9 playing 5 in the Avengers' favour. And the Avengers are going first in Battle Round 4, and remember, as we roll over in the power phase, everyone within range 1 generates an extra power from the serums. So for those other games we played, by Battle Round 4 it was pretty much set in stone that a team was going to get to the 16-point cap to win the game. Not the case here, this is still up in the air. This one's going to go the distance, I think. So anyway, first activation for Battle Round 4, now that the Avengers had priority, was Iron Man, and he had one goal in mind: do at least 1 damage to Red Skull to knock him out. and he did it, barely. He spent 2 power, or whatever the cost is, reduced by 1 on Friday AI, then spent 3 on homing missiles at point blank range, shot the man, rolled horrifically for his attack roll, and thankfully Red Skull's defense roll was also kind of bad, so it did the 1 damage required. Red Skull's not getting an activation this turn. He will not be contesting that serum, so that's a bonus point snagged for the Avengers. So another busy turn to go over. The Hulk activated for the Cabal, and Trip Up was played. As it turns out, this did not make a difference, but it got played, it's gone now, so we have to cover what it would have done. So when an allied character targets an enemy, Hulk targeted Black Widow, if there's another allied character within 2 of the targeted character, Crossbones, they each play 1 power to play this card. They each played 1 power, and it just meant as long as the Hulk dealt damage, then Black Widow would automatically have been given the stun and stagger special conditions, which basically would have ate her turn. As it turns out, it doesn't matter, because Hulk spent 4 power to do Hulk Smash. It's normally 8 physical. He has 6 damage, so it's actually 10 physical attack dice. He did 5 damage to Black Widow. In her wounded form, she has 4 HP, so that's the first time there's been a casualty in these games. She is gone. She'll be disappeared once we roll this turn over. He then also did a Thunderclap on Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel's still in binary form until she gets activation, so she actually has really good defense to counter his very good attack. She still took 2 damage from it though, so that's 2 more damage to Captain Marvel. And that was a turn. He didn't move because he wants to be within 1 of the serum. Spider-Man activated and has kind of given up on going after the Hulk and instead concentrated on the 2 Hydra members in front of him. So he did a superpower, he web-apolted and chucked Baron Zemo into Crossbones. The 1 damage was enough to knock out Baron Zemo, so he is unconscious and will not get an activation. No damage because of a good dodge roll from Crossbones from the impact. Then, instead of moving, Spider-Man opted to fire taser webs twice, which kind of might have been a mistake because he did well. He did 4 damage in total and stunned, so anytime Crossbones would generate more than 1 power, he just gets 1 power instead. But he was trying for a double knockout. Crossbones has 1 HP left. What he could have done instead was smack him once and then move to be partially contesting the serum there, but he was showboy and it didn't work out. Now Captain Marvel still hasn't activated, so she might be able to take out Crossbones, but that remains to be seen. A small correction for what happened to Crossbones there. He has a superpower he can activate when he takes damage called Inured to Pain. Where's the actual wording for it? Because it's a bit weird. If this character would suffer damage, it may use this superpower, reduce the amount of damage suffered by 1, and it costs just 1 power to activate. It doesn't say you can only do it once per turn, so presumably as long as you have power you can activate it, not power gained from the attack you're currently trying to negate, but he had power sitting on him already. So he negated 2 of the damage, assuming you're allowed to do that more than once. It doesn't specify you can only do it as a reaction once, maybe the rules say you only can, but we're running it that he didn't take 2 of those bits of damage, so he's on 3 out of 6 HP, but he is still staggered or stunned, he is still that. Captain America activated, and there's a little bit of a weird thing here. He's been sitting on full power since last turn, I think, so he activated and has just sat still, but he chose to play Second Wind. Now, there is a question of can he do this even though he doesn't, I mean, he's paid the power cost to play it, but he doesn't get the benefit from it. So any number of Avengers can spend 1 power to play this card. He spent a power and Captain Marvel spent a power. Characters that spent power remove stun and heal 1. So he didn't heal any because he's got no damage on him and he has no stun, but he played it now just so Captain Marvel could be healed prior to her activating, because I'm kind of cheekily activate Captain America first, because then Crossbones has to attack Captain Marvel while she's still in binary form. So that's the reason that was done in that order. If there was anything wrong with the way that's done, by all means let us know in the comments. All of a sudden Crossbones out of nowhere with an actual really good turn. He overpowered and attacked Captain Marvel, and despite her being in binary form, her defense roll had no blocks in it. She took 5 damage. She had 3 HP remaining. So she is dazed, she doesn't get an activation. That does mean the Avengers go first in turn 5, but she is out. So she's on our wounded side, she's maxed out her power at least, so she's going to have a very angry activation in the next turn. But wow, Crossbones was doing nothing, and then all of a sudden, he just came out and did exactly what he needed to do at the time. So Captain Marvel doesn't get a turn, the bleed's gone because it disappears when she flips her card anyway, so we're into the cleanup for this turn. So this game is really going the distance as Battle Round 4 comes to a close. This serum down here is owned by the Cabal for 1 victory point, and then this one over here for the Avengers for 1, and because Red Skull is knocked out, this one is owned by the Avengers as well, so 2 victory points plays 1, but Hulk has the Skrull Agent, so that's 2 to him, so the Cabal is closing the gap. 8 against the Avengers 11 now. And we're going into turn 5. Because Captain Marvel didn't get an activation, Avengers are going first again. Baron Zemo's flipping his card, Captain Marvel's flipping, and so is Red Skull. Everybody within 1 is generating power, etc, etc. Let's go and get Battle Round 5 started. So to get Battle Round 5 started, we actually made it to Battle Round 5 in a match of this. Carol Danvers activated and she was sitting on maximum power, which was 10. So first of all, she activated binary form, cost -1 thanks to a day like any other. She then did a Danvers special superpower, which is when she picks someone up and chucks them. She chucked Crossbones at Baron Zemo. The power is sitting there just to show that Crossbones spent a power for Inure to Pain to counter the damage, so he didn't take it. Baron Zemo took 1 from that. She then did the Rocket Punch and hit him with that for 3 damage. She then did, because she's had 1 actual action left, she tried an Energy Blast to finish him off and it didn't get through his defense. He rolled well, she rolled badly. So Baron Zemo, in total, all said and done, he's maxed out his power now too also, but took 4 damage, he's got 1 HP remaining. And with that, it's over to the Cabal. So we're spending so much time down here, but Baron Zemo has to do something while he still has HP, so he activated, and he has 10 power to burn through, so he spent on Team Tactics card Inspiring Monologue. So the Inspiring Monologue, it's unaffiliated. Any allied character may spend 3 power to play this card, choose another allied character, and they may reroll any number of defense dice this turn. He played it on Crossbones, so Crossbones is rerolling any defense dice he wants, and that's that gone. Then he spent 4 power in total for 2 steel rushes on Spider-Man. All said and done, Spider-Man took 3 damage and he's bleeding. I think on his wounded side he has 5 HP, yep, so he's got 2 HP remaining, and Baron Zemo opted not to take advantage because the move on steel rushes is optional to... Oh no, yeah it is, it's optional to stay within distance of claiming the serum. So Spider-Man activated from where he was, he spent on Weapon Bolt, so 2 goes down to 1 or 3 goes down to 2. Threw Baron Zemo into Crossbones, 1 damage. Baron Zemo is deceased. So he is removed from the game, and Crossbones spent 2 power to ignore the 2 damage he would have taken. Again, if you're only allowed to use Inure to Pain once per damage received, then technically that shouldn't be, and we'll correct it going forwards, but please point it out. But he's for now, he has spent 2 power to ignore the damage he would have been receiving. Then there's no way for the Avengers to claim this. Spider-Man moved along to claim that one. He did not shake off his blood, so he took 1 damage from it, and I believe that leaves him on 1 HP. Red Skull activated and he had 1 goal. Do a total of 2 damage to Iron Man. He spent 8 power in total to do 2 Unleash the Cubes. Only one of them did 1 damage, but it did knock him back small, so he's going to have to use one of his activations to get in there to contest the serum. I don't think it's possible for him to take Red Skull out though. Over to the Avengers now. Quick activation for Iron Man. He moved medium to get back into range to contest the serum, then tried to use homing rockets point blank on Red Skull and was not able to get through his physical defense rolls, so no damage done there. So it's over to Crossbones or the Hulk to end the next Cabal activation. The Hulk activated next, and as you can see from where he was standing, he did Hulk smash 10 attack dice, 6 damage got through, and Captain Marvel is dead. It was a case of stop, she's already dead, because he could technically also have just, like, it has a throw effect attached, could have thrown her into the wall for an extra 2 damage, 1 on each success. Sorry, no, just 1. 1 attack did that much, that was not 2 attacks. So she's gone, and that means Crossbones, he could technically go after Spider-Man. Well, Captain America has to activate, but he's obviously just going to be standing next to the serum for a victory point. So all that matters now is either going into the cleanup phase, because Crossbones wants to claim this, although Hulk is there, so you might as well go after Spider-Man actually. Alright, we'll be back once we resolve Crossbones' turn to end Battle Round 5. So that is going to end the penultimate turn right there. Crossbones, he moved small, but then he was not in range and didn't have the power to do... Well, if he had power, he could have done... what was it called? Overpower, which would eventually put him right next to Spider-Man. He didn't have the range, so he just moved small again, and he's out of range to contest, so 1 victory point to the Avengers for holding that one. The Cabal gets 1 for Hulk holding this one uncontested, and 2 for him holding on to the Skrull Secret Agent. 1 victory point for the Avengers, for Cap still holding that for the entire game, and then this one over here is a draw. So it has actually made it to the final turn. No matter what, the game ends after this turn. If one team gets to 16 victory points, they win. If neither team is at 16 victory points, whoever has the most wins. And right now there's a swing of 3 in the Avengers' favour. 13 plays 10, I believe. So again, power will be generated, and it's the Cabal going first in Battle Round 6. Red Skull activated, he unleashed the cube, and it did really, really well this time. It did 6 damage to Iron Man, he only had 1 left. So he is dazed, so he would have been flipping over to his wounded side if there was another turn, but there is not. So the game is going to end with Red Skull claiming that serum over there. It basically just comes down to what happens with Crossbones and Spider-Man now, so let's go see. So Spider-Man activated, he used one action to shake off the blood effect, then he used some power for Web of Bolt and chucked Crossbones just away, so he'd be away. Then he fired taser webs at him, which as it turns out was a bit of a mistake. It did stun, stunned is irrelevant for what's happening. It did 2 damage. He had enough power on him to negate, but it was allowed through on purpose because it's not enough to kill him, and it would generate him enough power that he now can do overpower, is that? Yeah, overpower in his turn. So he's going to activate next. It just comes down to like what the final points are going to be is, can Crossbones at the very least contest or kill Spider-Man who's on 1 HP. So let's see. So Crossbones used overpower, and when it's resolved it lets him be within 1 inch of wherever his target ended up. And Spider-Man did really well with his defense rolls and no damage was done, so at the best Crossbones is now contesting the serum that's underneath him. So Spider-Man gets to stand, but that does basically take us to the end of the game because Hulk's staying there to claim that, Captain America's claiming that, Iron Man doesn't get a turn. So at the end of that turn, to the final turn, what it's supposed to be the final turn anyway, Hulk has generated a victory point for holding that, Captain America generated for holding that, Red Skull generated for holding that, and Hulk still has the scroll for 2, and this one is contested. Now that actually makes it complicated because both sides at the end of the final, what's supposed to be the final turn, have 14 victory points each. Now as per the rules, I'm holding the quick rules in my hand here. If neither player has won by the end of round 6, the player with the most victory points is the winner. Can't do that. If both players are tied, the game continues until a player scores victory points and has more than their opponent. So in other words, if they keep on going, gaining the same amount each turn, then it would go on forever. But Spider-Man's going to go down sooner or later, and that would give the... well, actually, they already have the swing, don't they? Because the Hulk has the Skrull agent. So if one player also gets tabled, they lose automatically as well. So we're not going to bother playing another turn. We are just going to call it a draw, because at the end of turn 6, it is a draw. The game is supposed to continue. If the game continued into turn 7, the Cabal win easily. If things literally didn't change, they still have a 1 point swing thanks to the Skrull, or 2 point swing rather, thanks to the Skrull agent. Spider-Man would go down and make it even worse. So if you want to call it a Cabal win, call it a Cabal win. But we're just ending on turn 6 as we often do for like Batman, etc., regardless of if it's a draw. So that's how we're doing it here, but wanted to make it clear how you're supposed to do it as well from the rules. And that was an interesting one. That was fun. It's interesting to have a game go that long of Marvel Crisis Protocol because the other 2 games ended on turn 4. Poor Captain America didn't get to do anything. I think both sides, had they paid more attention to the objectives, changed things up a little bit. Like, you should have had Black Widow guarding this serum so Captain America could be with the bunch. Of course, there was no way to know that the objective over this end would be the Skrull agent. Could have been the one that was smack dab in the middle, could have been the one that was smack dab here. It was just unfortunate it was far away from Iron Man and Captain America, and of course, once the Hulk grabbed the Skrull agent, it was basically over because there's no shaking him. You would need a whole team to take him out, and Spider-Man and Captain Marvel, and well, Black Widow didn't really get the chance to try, but those two, Spider-Man and Captain Marvel, they tried, and all that did was make him angrier. He was rolling 10 attack dice every time he Hulk smashed, thanks to the damage accumulation on him. Really got a chance to see him shine, unlike last time where he helped, but he didn't do a huge amount. Anyway, as I said at the top of the video, thank you very much for supporting the Marvel Crisis Protocol content, both the battle reports and the painting videos, etc. There will be more to come as and when. If you want to see more quicker, by all means please show your support just by subscribing, letting me know. If you think there's any rule things, we can talk about them in the comments. But like for instance the patch up thing we did, and what was the other one? In Inward to Pain for crossbones, I think those need some clarification, so let us know. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you in the future. Ta for now.